Hello Schilling, welcome to IWC Schaffhausen Talks 2. We're delighted to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
I wondered if we could start by talking about the precocious young lady that you were who tortured your brother into performing with you.
Where did you read about that?
Oh, everywhere! Was he a willing and complicit actor?
I haven't thought about that in so long. That's really impressive. I don't know what part of the internet you dug that up on, or who put that out there.
It was the dark net.
It was the dark net. Those were some deep recesses of the internet. But well, he was actually kind of a trooper. He would let me paint his nails, and he would be a variety of things. Sometimes he was an elf, and sometimes he was my child.
Nice, but were you like my daughter, who never allowed my son to be the doctor because she was afraid he'd cut himself with the sharp instruments?
That's really funny. No, my brother was not. He was. That's very sweet. I mean, that's very thoughtful of her.
No, or bossy.
Very bossy. No, he had no hope. I mean, I just told him what to do. He couldn't. There was no autonomy in our game playing.
So were you already committed to becoming an actress at a very early age, or was it this production of Fiddler on the Roof that sort of catapulted your ambition to?
My mother, in a brilliant move on her part, I had no real after-school activities that I was participating in regularly. So she was like, everybody who auditions for this school musical gets in. It's, you know, and it's in the cafeteria. It's like 60 12-year-olds.
The only time in your life when you're guaranteed a part.
Exactly. So she was like, just go audition for it. And so I ended up doing it, and I still like very vividly remember I like got up on a table in the audition room and had it was really fun. And then I was in Fiddler on the Roof.
And did that give you the idea that acting could be a job that you could do, or was there an actress you looked up to in youth? What was it that sort of propelled you onto that path?
I had a great affinity for actresses, and I didn't even really know it because I would get so invested in story and really escape in TV shows and different films, and I would really quite viscerally live in those stories. And, you know, as I'm older, I look back and think, well, that was someone acting. That was someone weaving a narrative together that I was able to sink into. But, yeah, it was a very important part of my growing up.
And you've continued, I think, to have a big interest in books and in movies that you're not in. Does that inform the choices you make in terms of the parts you choose? I mean, are you influenced by what you read and what you see? Are you tempted to be a bit more proactive? Do you find stories that you want to work with?
That's such a good question, and I think that's really sort of the end goal of a lot of what I'm doing, even if I'm finding stories not even for myself, but for other opportunities for other women to make art. But you know, when I was very little, around 12 years old, I remember reading this thing that you'll be the same person 5 years from now, with the exception of the books that you read and the places you go and the people you meet. And for some reason, that really like lodged deep into my brain.
You mentioned finding parts for women. I think that's quite telling in itself, you know. And you've had several seasons now playing Piper Chapman in Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
Which must have seemed like an amazing gift of a part. Did it?
Yes.
Or was it quite intimidating when you first confronted it? But to be starring in something that was predominantly female-led, I mean, is female-led, you know, it's quite an unusual thing still.
I mean, I still remember where I was when I was reading the pilot and thinking, whoever gets to play this part is a lucky, lucky dog. And yeah, so.
Did you want it real bad?
I did. I wanted it really badly. And it's interesting because there are some things, I was just talking to a friend of mine about this, I think there are sometimes some roles that just fit and they just make sense, kind of coalesced. And there's this really interesting thing, I think, about kind of letting go and letting that happen. And it doesn't happen, I think, often in one's career, but when it does, it's quite magical.
I wonder with a character like Piper Chapman as well, how much viewer feedback you get, because a series like that, you know, has been a spectacular thing, I think, for kind of empowering women viewers as well.
It's funny. I mean, every day, literally. Every day somebody will tell me about their experience of watching the show. And it's so fun. I hear so many different things. And I'm constantly humbled by how intimate the experience of watching the show is for a lot of the audience members and the people that I meet. And I think it's because, literally, this is my theory, that I think a lot of people are like watching it on their laptop, going to bed, just on their chest, or
so they're in bed with you.
Exactly, like in bed, and then perhaps like not getting out of bed for 3 or 4 days just to watch the entire thing. So it's this very, very intimate experience, I think, and people really are impacted by it, and it's fun to hear about it.
And just finally, I wondered what your plans are for 2017, what we can expect to see you in, something you filmed probably 2 years ago,
Right.
I imagine, but...
Yeah. 5th season of Orange is coming out in June, and then I have two films coming out this spring.
Are you excited particularly about one or other of them?
I'm very curious about a movie called Titan, which I filmed in Spain last spring. Which was an incredible experience. So I'm excited to see how that all comes together.